The aim of this talk is to bring into light the political dynamic of Simondon's philosophy of techniques and to explore its transformation, the transformation of Simondonian concepts through Bernard Stiegler's thought, in order to understand their implications for our technical epoch and our contemporary societies. So I will try to point out the theoretical gesture which enables to move from Simondon's analysis of technical objects to Stiegler's analysis of automatic societies. And I will suggest that in spite of their theoretical divergences, Stiegler's analysis can be seen as a way to continue or to pursue Simondon's political projects, that is to say, to reconcile culture and techniques in a completely transformed and still transforming technical epoch. So in the second part of his doctoral thesis, entitled On the Mode of Existence of Technical Objects and published in 1958, Simondon strongly criticizes the opposition between cultural contents and technical objects, according to which culture is considered as the domain of humanity, values, and ends, and opposed to techniques considered as the domain of simple means or pure automatism. So this opposition, which leads to throw technical objects out of the world of meaning, is really problematic for Simondon, because according to Simondon, technical objects are neither simple means subordinated to cultural ends, nor dangerous automaton threatening human beings, but they are materializations of human gestures and crystallizations of human inventions. And they play a fundamental role in the cultural continuity of human groups. Indeed, in Imagination et Invention, a course given in 1965, Simondon explains that technical objects are object images, objet image in French. That is to say, human productions detachable from their producers and transmittable out of the place and after the time of their creation. Technical objects, tools or machines, just as aesthetic objects, monuments or work of art, or what Simondon calls prosthetic objects, clothes or accessories, are vehicles of knowledge and experiences opened to new interpretations and transformations. They serve as intermediaries between past and future of human groups and are necessary conditions for cultural transmission and evolution. But according to Simondon, the industrialization of production have disturbed these relations between technical objects and cultural contents. It seems that the industrial technical objects cannot play their role in cultural transmission and transformation anymore, because they are alienated from their producers on one hand and from their users on the other hand. So indeed, according to Simondon, the first consequence of the emergence of machines is the transformation of the function of human beings in the process of production. Whereas in handmade production, human individuals were the porters of tools, in industrial production, they do not carry the tools anymore because machines have become the porters of tools. Human individuals are gradually relieved of their technical functions, which are accomplished by the machines. Thus, they become either the owners of the machines, either the servers or the auxiliaries of these machines. But either they supervise the machines, either they clean or maintain them, but in any case, they can have a reciprocal relation with them because they do not understand their internal functioning. So they cannot mediate the relation between different machines, and they cannot participate to their evolution, to their transformation, and to their ameliorations. So there is alienation because the machine escapes to human comprehension and action, and the technical reality remains out of range of human individuals. This is why for Simondon, alienation is not only a matter of the property of the means of production, but of the relation between the human individual and the machine. But this psychological and physiological alienation does not only concern producers of technical objects, but also their users. Simondon explains that in pre-industrial societies, there was a continuity between the production of the technical object and its utilization. The separation of the object from its producer was accompanied by the transmission of hereditary knowledge and learning processes. Thanks to this transmission, the object could pass from generations to generations, and the human activity that was crystallized in it could be understood and pursued. But in industrialized societies, the liberation of the technical object from its producers takes the shape of what Simondon calls venality. Industrialized objects are put on the market in order to be sold to buyers who are unable to decode or to decipher the industrial operations which led to their production. So, the building operation is not readable in the object anymore, so the object becomes a stranger for the humans who are supposed to use it. Industrial production puts human individuals in the presence of objects which remain unintelligible for them. They can just employ, consume, and throw them away. But the functioning and the meaning of the technical world they live in escapes from them. Indeed, according to Simondon, since the Industrial Revolution, this technical world is evolving more and more rapidly and at a more and more global scale. Technical evolutions, which used to occur inside local cultural groups at the level of tools and at a slow rhythm, now occur at an accelerated rhythm and take place at the planetary scale of technical ensemble. The rhythm of technical evolution has become faster than the rhythm of cultural evolution, and this discrepancy has led to a gap between technical realities and cultural contents, which Simondon describes as a situation of crisis. Indeed, in a text called Psychosociologie de la technicité, Simondon insists on the fact that since industrial revolutions, cultural contents such as legal institutions, languages, customs, or religious rituals evolve at a slower rhythm and endure less radical modifications than technical objects. The cultural contents remain the same, whereas the technical world to which they correspond gradually disappears. A new technical world gradually appears, which seems to have no cultural signification, whereas the old cultural contents seem outdated and archaic. So this temporal discrepancy between technical and cultural rhythm challenges the government of human societies, because codes and laws are adapted to societies where human individuals work with tools, whereas the reality to be governed consists of humans and machines. According to Simondon, this led to a critical situation in which technical evolutions are abandoned to exterior forces and disorder. For all these reasons, Simondon maintains that these technical transformations create a risk of disadaptation of human societies to their milieu. But at the same time, he insists on the fact that this risk of disadaptation is also a chance for evolution on condition of modifying human attitudes and cultural contents. According to him, the reconciliation between culture and techniques implies that the human beings who are in relation with the industrial machines or products understand the human activity crystallized in them, and thus consider them as vehicles of information and signification, and not only as tools or goods. This is the reason why, in order to fight against alienation in the production process, Simondon suggests to adopt a new economic and social model which rests on a new social function, the function of the technologist or of the mechanologist, who is neither a worker, neither the owner of the machine, neither the user of the tool, but a psychologist or a sociologist of the machine who understands them and who exchanges with them. At the same time, the role of the mechanologist is also to represent technical beings in front of those who elaborate culture in order to favor the integration or the incorporation of technical beings into culture. Simondon insists on the necessity to integrate technical content into culture and technical culture into education programs, because in order to grasp the information included into technical objects and their internal norms, the human subjects have to possess some technical forms which enables them to interpret the object and not only to use the object or to consume the object. So this teaching of technical culture is supposed to bridge the gap between the builder and the user by giving the user the capacity to prolong the act of the builder, to prolong the act of construction and of invention, and to give him the power to participate to the evolution of his technical milieu, and so to think and to transform his existence and his situation in the world. This is the reason why Simondon says that this technical culture has a political and social value. So, to conclude on Simondon, we can say that there is two major political perspectives that emerge from his work. First, the invention of a new social function, the function of the technologist or of the mechanologist, which aims at overcoming the alienated function of workers and owners. And on the second and the development of a technical culture which enable users to understand the technical milieu and to give technical objects a cultural function by making them become medium of significations. But we also know that, according to Simondon himself, such political perspectives are adapted to a certain form of alienation, which is specific to Simondon's technical epoch, that is to say, which is specific of the 20th century and of the technological breakthrough of mechanization of production, which led to scientific division of labor and then to consumer society. Yet, as Simondon puts it, each technical epoch produces its own peculiar risk of alienation, and it seems that our contemporary societies have to face a new technological shock due to the digital automation and robotics, which led to digital labor and algorithmic governmentality. Alienation does not seem to concern only workers or owners of the machines, but every psychic individual who becomes a data resource through the connected environments and digital objects he uses every day. The gap between technical evolution and cultural organizations seems to become deeper and deeper, with permanent technical innovation disrupting social institutions or legal regulations. In his work concerning automatic societies, Bernard Stiegler describes these two phenomena as a generalization of the process of proletarianization and as the second phase of a technical shock which forces societies to invent new social, political, and economic rules. Indeed, for Stiegler, technical objects must be considered as exosomatic organs through which individuals externalize their physiological or psychological functions, their memory, and their knowledge. For example, a tool is an externalization of a gestural memory, of a technique, and of a know-how, and a book is an externalization of mental memory or of theoretical knowledge. So this process of technical externalization enabled individuals to transmit their experience from generations to generations, to accumulate it and to transform it. But this technical externalization of knowledge is ambiguous because it also inevitably contains the risk of losing the knowledge which is externalized. Indeed, if the technical object does not become an object of social practice, psychic individuals are not able to re-internalize or to reappropriate the knowledge that had been externalized into it. And on the contrary, they become submitted to the forms of knowledge incorporated into the technical object and controlled by the one who possesses this technical object. So this is this deprivation of knowledge that Stiegler calls proletarianization. And if Stiegler maintains that the process of proletarianization is now generalized, it is because, according to him, the digitalization and computerization of the technical milieu has made possible the externalization of all types of knowledge. So, according to him, in 19th century, industrial capitalism was characterized by the loss of the know-hows of the craftsman, externalized into mechanical technologies and replaced by specialized tasks of the workers. And in 20th century, analogical technologies enabled to externalize perceptive or sensible functions thanks to the analysis and the recording of sound and light frequencies. Consumer capitalism was thus characterized by the loss of the know-how to live, destroyed and replaced by standardized behaviors prescribed by mass media. In the 21st centuries, digital technologies enabled to externalize theoretical functions thanks to the analysis and formalization of mental operations. What Stiegler calls computational capitalism is thus characterized by the loss of theoretical knowledge, replaced by algorithmic calculations performed on big data with prediction made by correlations. So, in a certain way, we could say that the process of alienation described by Simondon in the case of the mechanization of production, during which the know-hows of the worker disappear and the worker becomes an auxiliary of the machine, possessed by the owner of the factory, we could say that this process now also concerns the theoretical knowledge of doctors, for example, or linguists, who are threatened to become the auxiliaries of algorithmic programs possessed by giant companies. So, so automation does not depend on the manual or intellectual nature of the activity or on the sector of the profession, because every activity which is based on routine and predictable tasks can be formalized into a program and implemented into an automatic system. So while a lot of professions from very different sectors are being progressively automatized, and while a lot of different types of knowledge are being proletarianized, the users of digital objects are also submitted to a new form of proletarianization. Because through algorithmic governmentality, which was a notion created by Antoinette Rouvroy and Thomas Burns to describe the way in which algorithms modulate and control individuals' behaviors through the collection of their digital traces. So through this kind of governmentality, according to Stigler, psychic individuals are deprived of their capacity to anticipate and to elaborate projects because algorithmic automatic suggestions shortcut their own desires, stimulates their consumerist drives, and constantly request their attention. Thus, the users of digital and connected objects living in automatic society are not only deprived of the technical culture contained in the object they use, but also of their fundamental noetic capacities, that is to say, their capacities to sublimate their drives into desires and to relate to each other. So the process of alienation of producers and consumers of technical objects described by Simondon in 1958 thus seemed to have become a process of generalized proletarianization concerning all professions and every psychic individuals in algorithmic and connected environments. The gap between culture and technique, which was described by Simondon, also seems to take new dimensions in contemporary society. Indeed, in his philosophy of techniques, Stigler also insists on the discrepancy between the rhythm of technical evolution and cultural or social evolutions, because according to him, technical evolutions always provoke a social or a cultural shock. The technical modification of the environment suspends the efficiency of cultural rules and habits and the functioning of traditional organizations. So in a second phase, the society and psychic individuals have to create new rules, new habits, new forms of knowledge in order to adopt their new technical milieu through the constitution of a new epoch. But according to Stigler, this twofold process constituted by a technical shock and then by its social adoption is interrupted in contemporary society because technical innovation is so radical, so rapid, and so disruptive that psychic individuals do not have the time to organize themselves collectively in order to invent the new knowledge and practices required to adapt the new technical milieu. Innovative products are given out for sale and thus enter into society before that their possible toxicity has been evaluated by the psychic individuals who will be forced to use them. So, yes, marketing injunctions provide the rules for their use, and psychic individuals do not have the time to collectively produce regulation, legislations, and social organizations in order to transform the digital objects into medium of knowledge, so that the digital objects become, because of this rapid evolution, digital objects become objects of addiction or means of control. So this is the reason why Stigler maintains that in order to fight against algorithmic governmentality, it is necessary to turn the digital technologies of control into objects of care or medium of knowledge. That is to say, to make these technologies become not only means of measurement and calculation, but also medium of collective memory, interpretations, controversies, and deliberation, which are the psychic and collective processes through which transindividuation occurs. Such a perspective implies to design and to implement new devices, such as contributive platforms or deliberative social networks, in order to enable psychic individuals not to abandon their data to be exploited by planetary enterprises, but to share their practices and to express their point of view, in order to produce new forms of non-programmable, non-predictable knowledge and to renew the practical, scientific, and political life of their society. And according to Stigler, such a technical transformation must be accompanied by an economic and social transformation which values the production of this unpredictable knowledge. For him, it is necessary to experiment, an economical model in which the time gained by the automatization of production is redistributed to citizens in order to free them from proletarianizing jobs and to engage them in contributed activities in which they can share and transform their knowledges. So, a little conclusion, or
Yes,
if
please,
maybe it's
please.
too
No,
long?
no,
No,
perfect. Yeah,
perfect. Okay, so to conclude very quickly, in 1958, when Simondon published on the mode of existence of technical objects, alienation concerned the industrial workers subordinated to automatic machines and the consumers of technical objects unable to understand the objects that they were using. But in 2015, when Stigler published Automatic Society, externalization concerned all types of knowledges, so that any worker can be replaced by an algorithmic program. And proletarianization concerns every individual whose psychic faculties can be shortcut by algorithmic governmentality. So if the function of the mechanologist and if the technical culture are still necessaries, they cannot seem sufficient when proletarianization does not concern only technical know-hows, but also know-how to live and theoretical knowledge. And when technical objects are not just unreadable by human users, but destructive of their noetic capacities and social relations. That is why it can be interesting to prolong Simondon's analysis of technical objects by Stigler's analysis of automatic society. Thank you
very much.